that we talked about when I saw you guys yesterday. Iwo Jima is the one. Now, Iwo Jima is going to be a very important piece to the war because not only is it geostrategically important, but it's also going to show us something about what we're up against here. Now, first, I just want to point out real quickly, Iwo Jima being right here is real important for a specific reason. Now, Jen, you were kind of one step ahead of me. Why is Iwo Jima so important for the war effort? So we can eventually get to the mainland. Now, I do want to point something out here. Iwo Jima can be used as an airfield. Now you can hit Japan round the clock with heavy bombers. We talked about on Iwo Jima, though, we see something happening. Now, I'm going to ask you guys, do you remember how many Japanese defenders made it out of Iwo Jima? 200. Out of? 21,000. This is the enemy we're up against. They're not going to surrender. It's not going to happen. So plans go in place for how we're going to invade Japan proper, how we're going to invade the home islands. And we start doing the math saying, if we invade Japan, it's going to cost us probably about 1 million Americans and way more Japanese civilians. It's possible we might have to take every single inch of the islands, and it might cost literally the entire country. We need another option. Now, I told you guys this a few days ago, last week. When Roosevelt died in office, someone's going to come into power. Now, we talked about how it's pretty simple in our system. If something happens to the president, who becomes president? Vice president. It happens to be Vice President Truman. Now becomes President Truman. But they didn't even trust him with this secret. They had to wait for him to become president before they could tell him. And they said, Mr. President, we have a brand new super weapon. But now it's your choice. What Truman will be told about is a project that's been going on for probably about 3 years. And I say probably because we don't really know. It's so secretive that even people working on the project didn't know what they were working on. I say that because the Manhattan Project has a lot of different pieces that go into it. The Manhattan Project is going to be a collection of really some of the world's top scientists, including Albert Einstein, working on how to create the atomic bomb. Now, I will say this. Albert Einstein is just one scientist working on this. He's a collection of really probably the smartest people in the world coming together to try to figure this out. Einstein is one moving part to this. But the thing about what makes Einstein so interesting with this is Einstein's not an American. He's a German. When this theory kind of starts to permeate in Europe, and this happened really in the 1920s, about atomic energy, even a little bit before that. Atomic energy was thought to be a revolution in the way that human beings exist, where we can harness the power of an atom. And when it first kind of comes out, people say, we could power the world with this. And it's true, we could. But there's someone else that actually approaches Einstein and says, how long until we can make this into a weapon? Of course. Adolf Hitler went to Albert Einstein and said, I want this as a weapon. How long is it going to take? Einstein, he kind of saw what was happening in Germany, and he knew that this would be a dangerous thing for the world if Germany got there first. So Einstein told Hitler, oh boy, it's going to be complicated. It's probably going to be a few years. And Hitler kind of told him, nah, I need it faster than that. Why don't you come and work for me? In fact, I know a place where you can stay. Why don't you show up, and I promise I'll take really good care of you.
Not the promises.
Einstein kind of figured it out. He got out of there. He went to the United States and he said, I don't want to scare you, but Hitler wants to make an atomic bomb. You're probably about 2 years behind him. You better hurry. If Hitler gets the atomic bomb first, he controls the world. So now the race is on. And we're probably about 2 years behind him. We better figure it out, and we better do it fast. Now, fortunately for the world, we figure it out first. Now, getting to this point is really complex. We have different teams of scientists kind of thinking about different ways to do it. We've got different groups of people putting parts together. And when I say putting parts together, I mean literally there are people working on the atomic bomb and they don't know it. They show up for work and they get instructions. Sometimes they'd say, you're building just metal cylinders today. Don't ask questions, just do it. I can't tell you why you're doing it. If I tell you, I have to kill you. And I don't want to do that. So go make your cylinders. Thousands and thousands of people putting their efforts together on a project. They didn't even know what it was until it was done. Now we got to test it. Now, there's video footage of this, and it's really kind of creepy. The first test of the atomic bomb, we have a video of it, and you can look at it. It's about that wide and about this tall, and it's just this like steel sphere, really, with wires coming out of it and things connected all over the place. And they're just pulling it up in the air with a rope on this wooden structure. And when it gets to the top of just this wooden structure, it's just hanging there, blowing in the wind, ready to be tested. It's kind of bizarre because you look at it and you go, that's an atomic bomb. And it's just held up with ropes. That's it.
Away from that thing.
The weird thing about it is they gotta be there to see what happens. So in this bunker that's roughly about 2 miles away from this blast, you have the scientists who created it, you have American military commanders, and you have some journalists. Here they are in the bunker, about 2 miles away, and this atomic bomb is held in the air with rope. And they say, what do we do? Go ahead with the test. They drop this bomb in the New Mexico desert, and what they see is a very bright light, and then they're hit with just this wall of power. Now, this is a very limited explosion. It's just a test. They're in this bunker, and when they watch it happen, one of the scientists explains what he saw in the bunker. Now, this is, again, on video. He's doing this interview, and it's very kind of creepy to watch his eyes in this because he's the one who helped create it. This is a man by the name of Oppenheimer. This interviewer says, well, what happened? What took place when you saw the test? And you can see his eyes kind of, it's almost, he feels guilty, really. And what he says is, I think the best way to describe this is to quote the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu Bible, basically. And he says, I've become death, the destroyer of worlds. I think we all felt that way. You're right. What he has done is made an atomic bomb that is more powerful than all of the bombs we have dropped in the entire war combined. That's what we're dealing with here. A weapon that can just remove cities. When he sees the test, Oppenheimer kind of goes back and forth, really for the rest of his life, about what he's done. Because he helped make the atomic bomb. And it's controversial because what he created is, in fact, something that can destroy the world. But Hitler's working on it too. So if you don't get there first, the world is destroyed. Thank goodness the United States figured this out before Nazi Germany did. Now we have this super weapon, and we're going to tell the Japanese about it. We have correspondence with them saying, look, the war's winding down. We have Iwo Jima. We can hit you round the clock with conventional bombers. We can do this and just pound you into the ground. Or we can use a brand new super weapon. Please do not make us do this. Just surrender. Are they going to surrender?
No.
They refuse. They refuse to surrender because, as we've talked about, the Bushido Code says the Japanese would rather die than surrender. When we give them this ultimatum, now it's Truman's choice. What do you want to do? They've refused. You can keep bombing them round the clock. You can get ready for the invasion that'll probably cost 1 million American lives, or you can drop the atomic bomb. It's your choice. Now, I believe I was telling you guys, when Truman comes into office, he's visibly shaking. He probably doesn't want this, but he has to make a decision. And his decision is going to be to drop the atomic bomb. Now, even when it's being put together, even in the final stages, it's so secretive that you can't even really tell the pilot that's about to drop this what he has. So they load this new super weapon into this gigantic bomber. It's a B-29, it's huge. And this giant bomber, the pilot is told, I can't tell you what you're about to do, but it's going to be something for the first time in history. So the pilot's kind of asking, and this is the high-ranking military officer. He goes, well, what is it? What am I going to do? And he goes, I can't tell you. All I can tell you is when you drop this, get out of there fast. You don't want to be anywhere close to this. So here's the pilot going, I don't understand. What is it? And the commander's going, stop asking questions. Just go. And the pilot says, so am I going to be famous? And the higher up kind of goes, maybe, but you might be infamous. So the pilot goes, I want to change the name of my airplane. I'm going to be certain that everyone knows this because this plane's going to be famous. So he names his airplane after his mom. The Enola Gay is going to carry the atomic bomb over Hiroshima. When they drop the bomb, they are told it's designed to not explode when it hits the ground. It explodes in midair. This way, you can increase the blast radius. So when you drop it, you have about 2 seconds to get out of there as fast as you can. If you wait, you're going to be in a lot of trouble too. On August 6, 1945, the Enola Gay takes off. It flies over one of its targets. Now, he had a few options. For one reason or another, he chooses not to hit a couple. He chooses Hiroshima. Now, this is going to be where we see the first atomic blast take place. This wall of fire and power that the world can only equate to one thing. This kind of power is what takes place on the sun. That's it. That's the only thing to compare it to. Because this wall of fire and power is going to spread out for miles. This wall is 7,000 degrees Celsius. It simply just vaporizes things. If you're within about 10 miles of where the bomb goes off, your problems are over. Because you're just vaporized. You just see a very bright light, and then your atoms separate. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I want to go ahead and let you know. Nuclear war is still very much a possibility for us right now. But I want to go ahead and make you feel better. Should nuclear war come, you don't have to worry about anything, because we'll all just be vaporized. We here are within the blast radius of a very significant target. So, should nuclear war come, don't worry about it.
What car here?